All right, so picture this. You're like cruising down the road, top down in your dream car, and you don't even have like a single worry about money, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're like totally on track to hit all your financial goals,
Yeah.
whether it's early retirement or buying a house or just that like amazing feeling of security about your future,
Right.
right? This deep dive is going to be your roadmap to get there,
Yeah.
even if you're starting from like square one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because a lot of people I talk to, they think of financial planning as this big, scary, complicated thing, and,
Yeah.
and they get overwhelmed right away. But honestly, it's really just a matter of making like small, smart choices that add up big time over time, right? It's
Oh, really?
it's like working out.
Okay.
You don't just start by benching 300 pounds.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to start small and gradually build up that strength.
So where do we even begin with this whole thing?
Wow.
One of the things that really like stood out to me in all this research we did was that like setting goals thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about saving money, right?
Right.
It's more about figuring out why you're saving in the first place.
Exactly. Like think of it this way.
Right.
If you're training for a marathon, right? You don't just like run aimlessly around the neighborhood. You have a specific goal, right?
Yeah.
You have that finish line you're aiming for, and financial goals are the same way, right?
Okay.
Do you want to buy a house, travel the world, start your own business,
Right.
like whatever it is, you got to write those goals down. Make a real, give yourself something concrete to work towards.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But how do you actually get there?
Uh,
Like it's one thing to have this goal, but how do we make it happen?
right. Well, that's where budgeting comes in.
Okay.
And I like to think of your budget as like your financial GPS.
Yeah.
It helps you track where your money's going and make sure you're on the right track to reach those goals.
Mm.
And now I'm sure you've heard of the 50-30-20 rule, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen that one floating around, but to be honest, I don't really get it.
Okay, well, it's basically a guideline that suggests allocating your income like this 50% for your needs.
Needs. Okay.
Right, so that's like the essentials, housing, groceries, bills, that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
Then 30% goes to your wants.
Wants.
Right, and that's the fun stuff,
Yeah.
like dining out, hobbies, entertainment.
Yeah.
And then finally, the remaining 20%, that's for savings and debt repayment.
Okay. So, but does that really work for like everybody?
Well,
I mean, what if someone's rent is like super high or they have a ton of student loans or something?
yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
The 50-30-20, it's really just a starting point. It's not like a rigid rule.
Okay.
It needs to be adapted to your own unique situation, right?
Really?
So maybe you adjust the percentages a little bit,
Hmm.
or maybe you find some creative ways to cut costs in that needs category.
Yeah.
The important thing is to be mindful of where your money's going and make sure it's aligning with those goals that we were talking about.
Okay. So once you've got your budget figured out,
Yeah.
then what,
Yeah.
all this stuff we were looking at kept mentioning this emergency fund thing.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
Well, life is unpredictable, right?
Yeah, sure.
You could face a sudden job loss or a medical emergency, or your car could just decide to like totally die on you.
Right, right.
And an emergency fund,
Mm.
it's basically your safety net.
Okay.
It helps you handle these unexpected situations without like having to go into debt.
That makes sense. But saving up like that much money can be really daunting.
Yeah.
Like, where do you even start?
Well, it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Oh.
You can start small. Even setting aside like $25 or $50 a week can really add up over time.
Okay.
And automate your savings if you can set up like a recurring transfer to a separate account and
Right.
just like treat it like a non-negotiable bill.
Yeah.
You won't even miss the money.
Okay. So we've covered setting goals, budgeting, and having an emergency fund.
Mm.
But what about investing? To me, that always felt like something that only like rich people do.
Yeah, that's a pretty common misconception.
Really?
Investing isn't about getting rich quick. It's more about building wealth over the long term.
Okay.
And these days there are so many accessible options for beginners.
Like what?
Well, have you ever heard of index funds or ETFs?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Okay, so think of those as like baskets of stocks that track a specific market index.
Okay.
Like the S&P 500, for example.
Mm.
And they offer diversification, which means your money is spread across a bunch of different companies.
Right.
So it reduces your risk.
Ah.
And then there are also robo-advisors, which use algorithms to manage your investments based on your goals and your risk tolerance.
So it's not like you need to be a Wall Street whiz to get started with this.
No, not at all.
Okay.
You can start small. Do your research, and you'll learn as you go.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to just start early and be patient. You know, investing. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I like that. Okay, this is making a lot more sense now. So we've got our goals.
Yeah.
We're budgeting, we're saving for emergencies, and we're even like dipping our toes into investing.
Yeah.
It feels like we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
What would you say is like the biggest takeaway for somebody who's just starting out on their financial journey?
I think the most important thing to remember is that financial planning, it's not just a one-time thing.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's about building good habits, being mindful of your spending, and really making your money work for you.
Yeah.
Start small, be consistent, and don't be afraid to ask for help or advice along the way.
So to wrap things up, let me ask you this.
Sure.
If you could give our listener just one piece of homework, like something they can do like right now to get started,
Yeah.
what would it be?
I'd say take a few minutes to think about one specific financial goal that really motivates you, something that really gets you fired up.
Yeah.
Write it down, make it tangible, and then identify one small step that you can take today to move towards that goal. Whether it's setting up a budget, automating a savings transfer, or even just researching a beginner-friendly investment platform.
Yeah.
Just remember, every journey starts with a single step.
Great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you folks next time.
See ya. Bye.